Thank you so much and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Chantel. I am the account manager for Michigan for Becker. And we're going to talk a little bit or a lot today about the CPA exam. So we're going to start with steps. So the steps that you'll need to take in order to initiate the process, get your notice schedule, all of those little details. And then we'll move forward into a little bit of Becker's software, specifically a really neat thing that I really like showing candidates. And then we'll talk about CPA evolution. So it is on the horizon, it is coming, so it is new, but my job is to make it not as scary. So I will go ahead and get started. I do want to let people know, in addition to putting any questions that you might have in the chat, Katie will be watching that for me. You can always take yourself off mute, put your camera on, whatever you feel comfortable. A lot of times with these virtual presentations, it's like presenting to outer space. So if any interaction you guys can give me is greatly appreciated. And with that, I am presenting from home today. So I do have a bird. So if you hear loud chirping, he gets very jealous when I'm talking to other people but him. So I will go ahead and get started and we'll move forward with the presentation today. So steps to becoming a CPA, we'll go through each of these in just a little bit of detail. Again, if you all have questions and want to get into the weeds about certain topics, I'm happy to have a one-on-one or schedule an additional time to do that. But for today, so we're going to meet the educational requirements. This is specific to Michigan. So each state is a little bit different. However, most states, I believe, are going to adopt our rule, which is in the state of Michigan, you are allowed to start sitting for the CPA exam when you have completed your 120 credit hours. There are specific requirements that are listed on NASBA's website specific for Michigan of courses that you do need to take. And you still need 150 credit hours for licensure, but you can start sitting at 120. This is a big gift for us, and there's a reason why are now adopting the same rule. There is a shortage of folks going into accountancy and specifically acquiring their CPA. And so we need to address that pipeline issue. This is a new buzzword. You'll hear it with firms that you're speaking with. They need to fill those seats. So we are working with the MICPA, the AICPA. The AICPA are the folks that create the CPA exam to figure out and to brainstorm how to get more people to want to become CPAs and moving forward. Then you're going to apply to take your CPA exam. So through the state of Michigan, you will apply through NASBA's website. And you'll submit your application. So on that application, please make sure your name that you put on that application matches your ID. So for example, Caitlin goes by Kate, put Caitlin on there and not your nickname. They need to match up 100% or else they will not let you sit and take the exam that you've prepped for, that you've paid for. You also need to submit all of your college transcripts from all of the colleges or universities you've attended. Needs to come from the registrar's office directly to NASBA. Unfortunately, it cannot come from you, the candidate. Again, that's for fraudulent reasons. Step number 3, we're going to study for the exam. So choose your review provider. So I'm from Becker. We hope you choose Becker. However, do know that all of the other different reviews, including us, have a 2-week free trial area. So I am very aware that other people learn differently, right? So choose the one that you'll learn the best from. Again, we hope it's us, but if it's not, again, go with what's true to you and pick the one that speaks to you the most. You're also going to create your study plan and study, obviously. Creating your study plan, be very honest about the amount of time you can carve out of your schedule. If you're working full-time and going to school and you have a family, odds are you're not going to be able to study 40 hours a week. There's just not that much time in a week. But if you can carve out 1 or 2 hours in the morning, 1 or 2 hours in the evening, And then on Saturday and Sunday, you might be able to get to that, 10 to 20 hours per week. It's sort of that sweet spot for studying for the CPA exam. So time management, very big thing. I will mention it again and again and again. Keep on that schedule, move things around as needed. You still have a life and things will still happen, and like things that you can't plan for might happen. But just make sure you're going at that same cadence to really prepare yourself as well as you can for the CPA exam, so that when you're walking in to go ahead and sit for that portion of the exam that you're taking that day, you are super, super prepared and confident. Step number 4. So you'll schedule your exam, you'll receive your notice to schedule, NTS, notice to sit via email. Go ahead and print that out. By the time you will apply for that notice to schedule and the time you actually receive your notice to schedule is about 6 to 8 weeks. And err on it taking that full 8 weeks to have them go through your transcripts, make sure you are who you say you are, go ahead and generate a specific number that you'll input when you sit for your CPA exam. It's a 7-digit number. And that will be emailed to you. So print that out. And the reason I say to print it out is when you go into the Prometric Testing Center, which is where they do all professional testing. So in addition to testing for the CPA exam, they're going to test for real estate. They're going to test for other professions. You're not allowed to bring in a phone, so you'll need to print that out so you have that 7-digit number at your station. And step number 5, so you're going to succeed, right? You're going to take the exam, including your ethics exam. Your ethics exam is an open book test. They just want to make sure that you're ethical. It's a very important thing when you're a CPA, right? You're going to obtain your work experience. In the state of Michigan, your required work experience is 1 full year at 40 hours a week or 2,000 hours. Now, any work that you do with a CPA, including your internships, will count towards that 2,000 hours. So know that as well. And then you'll apply for licensure in the state of Michigan. It's the LARA website, LARA. And I should have said this in the beginning, but I'll say it to you now. At the end of this presentation, sometime this evening, I will send you an email with all of these websites that keep spouting out, in addition to resources and all of the information we've gone over today. So you don't need to write anything down. I'll follow up and send you all that information. And if you need more information after that, you can reach out to me yourself. Are there any questions before we go ahead and move on? That was a lot of information. Okay, I will go ahead.
Let me unmute myself real quick. That would help. So Amber, yes. So Amber said she mentioned that she signed up for far back in April and it took about 6 weeks. She's studying for Beck right now, and that one took about 2 weeks to get the NTS.
Yep, that sounds about right. I bring up the notice to schedule a lot. I was hearing of it taking as much as 10 weeks, but that was last December. So I'm assuming it's, people wanting to get ahead of CPA evolution if they can sit. And also, I don't think they have enough, I don't think they can hire and retain enough people to actually go through the paperwork, but I'm glad to hear that it's kind of come back down a little bit. The other tip I will give you all out there about receiving your notice to schedule is after you submit all of your information and ask your registrar's office to send your transcripts, go ahead and create a reminder in your phone 8 weeks from that day. So NASBA will not follow up with you and say, hey, Chantel, we didn't receive this from this school. Can you please resend it? They just won't send you your notice to schedule. So it is up to you to be an advocate for yourself to then go ahead and get back in touch with NASBA to see what it is they're missing. So I like to throw that out to you guys as well.
Hi, this is Amber.
Yes.
But yeah, because I signed up, like I said, back in April for my first exam, which was the PAR exam, which I took and did not pass, unfortunately. And it's my first time taking the exam. I don't know if it's because it was my first time taking the exam that it took a little bit longer compared to the Beck exam, because like I said, the Beck exam was pretty quick turnaround for the NTS. I don't know if it's going to be the same for the other exams when I sign up for them, but I don't know if it's because I'm like a first time person taking this or not. I just want to throw that out there too.
Exactly. So by the time, your notice to schedule in the state of Michigan is good for 6 months. And then you'll have to apply for a notice to schedule again. That takes significantly less time because they've already vetted your information. So Amber, that's probably what you experienced. They already know you are who you say you are. So that turnaround time goes from, 6 to 8 weeks to maybe 1 week, or I've heard of people getting it as quick as 24 hours. So yeah, that would be why. Any other questions?
We have one from Lindsay, and that was how long does the NTS last, which I believe you just
6 months.
perfect.
Yeah.
So she said, for instance, if I pay for all 4 at once, how much time do I have to study before it expires? So that's 6 months.
6 months.
Time
And
frame.
I'll hit on this for you guys too. So I know on NASBA's website, they give you a bit of a discount, like it's kind of like shopping at Costco versus shopping at Kroger. But know that if you sign up for all 4 of those tests and they give you a little bit of a discount, know NASBA's return policy, which they don't have one. So if you don't take all 4 of those exams that you've signed up for in that 6 months, you just lose that money and donate it. So again, be aware, going back to that time management, be aware of how many you can take during that 6-month period. If you're not working and all you're doing is taking CPA exams, you can probably knock that out. Everybody's different. It just depends on, what you have going on. Anything else?
We have nothing else in the chat at the moment.
Okay, I will hit on this lightly. So the CPA exam overview, these are things that are not going to really change. We're going to have 4 exams. They're going to be 4 hours apiece. Within each exam, you're going to have a total of 5 testlets. And you can see down at the bottom, it is broken into multiple choice, your task-based simulations. And then in BEC, we still have those written communications, or that WC, that's what that stands for. Do note that after you send in each testlet, you hit that submit button. You can't go back to that testlet. That testlet is gone, and it is in your best interest to answer every single question. They're not going to take points away because you answered a question incorrectly. They just will not award you points. So give it your best guesstimate. It will flag you and say, hey, I see that you have not answered question number 8 and question number 11. Go back and look at that and just plug something in. You'll also see that within each testlet, you are given a break. So we talked about each test being 4 hours long. You're given a 15-minute off the clock break between testlet 3 and testlet 4. This is the same for all 4 of the exams. So your 4-hour clock will stop for 15 minutes. This allows you to go out of the Prometric testing center, where you can then go to your locker, have a glass or have a sip of water, a snack, go to the bathroom, but come back quickly. So in the Prometric testing center, you can expect to show 2 forms of ID in addition to your notice to schedule. Make sure that your name matches up perfectly. You're also not allowed a watch, you're not allowed a phone, you're not allowed a bag. You will be provided with a locker for, again, any of your belongings, water, food, any of that. They might wand you, they might fingerprint you. So it's kind of like a TSA-like condition, and they just want to make sure everybody is testing on the same level and no one has an advantage. Also known as cheating. So they don't want that either. So that's the reason why. So once you leave and take that off the clock break, you then have to come back and do that same thing. And that's all tied up in your 15 minutes. And you don't have to take the break. So I've talked to students who are rocking and rolling through the exam. They just want to continue. You're allowed to do that too. You're also allowed to take breaks between testlets, but it does count against your time. And from what I've heard from most candidates is you want as much time as possible. So we'll take a look at our review course a little bit more, but I can show you, you're going to want to use all of that time, I think. Again, you need a passing score of 75. It's not a 75% correct. It's a 75 points. So you do see where you have multiple choice questions in your task-based simulations. Those task-based simulations are a little bit more difficult. It's more critical thinking than memorization. So those are going to be weighted a little bit heavier than your multiple choice questions. The exam can be taken in any state. So if we're in the state of Michigan, if you want to take the exam, but it's not available at any Prometric testing center in Michigan, you can go ahead and take it in Toledo. You can go to Illinois, you can go to Indiana, you can go to Hawaii if you want. There's a Prometric testing center there. You can go ahead and take your test there. And this slide is a little bit outdated, y'all. So 18 months to pass all 4 parts, not so true anymore. We'll take a look at that. It is very much in your candidates, in your guys' favor. So if we take a look at the exams, this is where I am going to point out a few things. So this is pulled directly from our simulated exams. We have 2 of them at the end of every section. So 2 at the end of FAR, 2 at the end of BEC, so on and so forth, that are set up to mimic the CPA exam exactly how you would see it if you were walking into Prometric today. So if you notice the color, the font, the way it feels, these little flags, you can go ahead and flag questions, you know, just like it is for every multiple choice question. Answer the easy ones first, go back and revisit the ones that maybe are a little bit more difficult for you. The other thing I will note is that the call of the question or what they're actually looking for is usually down here. So before you read through any of the information they give you to solve that multiple choice question, go ahead and read the question first. It'll save you time as you get used to taking those questions over and over and over. The theory behind that is if you can answer your multiple choice questions effectively and correctly, you can then bank more time to spend on your task-based simulations. And then I will move forward and go to a task-based simulation. So you will see they give you exhibits. So basically more information than you need to solve the question. Your answers are going to go where these little boxes are. And I will stop there to see if we have any questions.
Nothing in the chat.
All right, I am going to move on to what I think. So I'm going to bring you into our software just for a quick bit, because I want to show you one of my favorite things that we have. So if we're in the exam review, I've already logged in and put my password in and all of that. This is what FAR looks like, but we can kind of toggle through. Let's go into BEC. We've been talking about BEC a lot. And the person before, when you're studying for FAR versus BEC, FAR is going to take you a lot longer because there's much more content. If you look here, we have 6 units for BEC. FAR in relation has 11. So there's a lot more information in that exam today. But one of the neat things that I wanted to show you is, so if we have, you know, BEC Unit 1, BEC Unit 2, that's just jump in here. And there's modules throughout each one that you'll work through. But if we take a peek, you can kind of see how it'll give you a good idea about how long the lecture is. They're all going to be, there's going to be multiple choice questions and task-based simulations. What I wanted to show you guys is on a task-based simulation, you'll see again, it's got that same look as what we were looking at before, again, just to get you all used to the look and feel of it. You'll have your calculator, you'll have your Excel, and all of these. This help button, when you guys are actually in Prometric, will be for anything software related or computer related. So there are people at Prometric, if your mouse doesn't work, if you get kicked offline, things like that. But unfortunately, there's no one to help you with the question, but at least you have support, IT support there. What I think is really cool about this is we can go ahead and add in our questions. If we're not sure, if we're like, I have no idea what this is asking, how I got there, what it means, you can click here on the skill builder button, and this is embedded in every single task-based simulation we have. That's Mike Potenza. This will bring you back to a Becker instructor going through methodically and solving the problem for you. and showing you how they would go about tackling a task-based simulation, which I think is really impactful. So we do also give you the answers, so you can check your answers first. And if at that point you're just like, I have no idea how to even go about this, you can go back to the skill builder video, you can go back to where the content was pulled and revisit that information. Maybe it didn't sink in, maybe you had zoned out for whatever reason. And the same thing is true, what I think is really cool for our multiple choice questions. So if we start a multiple choice question set, I'm just gonna pick one. So it's going to tell you a lot of things. So it's not only going to tell you why an answer is wrong, but it's going to tell you why the correct answer is right and why the others are wrong. So you're constantly absorbing information. Again, it is to over prepare you so you're super confident walking through the Prometric Center Testing Center to take your exam. So one of the really cool things that I really like about Becker and the software. So just to recap moving forward, so what to expect on exam day, we talked about this. You're going to need a copy of your NTS, and they're going to want 2 forms of valid ID. They might ask for just 1, but bring 2. All of your personal items are in a locker. They might scan the fingerprints. Again, those like TSA, like conditions. The Prometric staff is on site to help with any issues about your station, like we were talking about earlier. All the scheduling is done through Prometric, and do know, again, like we talked about it earlier, there's different sorts of testing going on there. So if you walk in with the person who's behind you and they leave after an hour, they probably weren't taking the CPA exam. So really just focus in on your desk. All right, so what is coming in 2024? Let's take a look at CPA evolution. I want to talk about why they're changing the exam. So it feels like every 7 to 8 years, they change the exam more significantly. It is constantly being monitored to make sure it is relevant, to make sure it adjusts for inflation, it adjusts for the information technology that is now new hires are expected to do. So the work that you were expected to do as a new hire at a firm about 7 years ago, most of that is automated now, which is why there's more information technology, data analytics, data scrubbing, those kinds of things being tested moving forward in 2024 to help with that transition between the university or college setting that you're in and moving towards your professional career, because what you're expected to do is going to be at a higher level. That being said, the exam is changing in a very favorable way to candidates. It's just different, and we'll go through it a little bit now. So what is happening? So we're going to have 3 core exams, and this is starting January 10th in 2024. Testing for the CPA exam as it stands now will end December 15th. There is a blackout period. There will be blackout periods, and I'll show you what that looks like. But keep that in mind for any of you folks that were thinking about taking an exam you know, during that late break or holiday break. If you have that, you won't be able to do that. So accommodate for that. So moving forward though, in January 10th, you're going to have 3 core exams: audit, FAR, and reg. BEC is going away. So the CPA exam is actually going to be a bit tailored, which is different than it's ever been. So BEC is going away, and it has been broken into disciplines. So those are business analysis and reporting, information systems and controls, and tax compliance and planning. So moving forward in 2024, you will be required to take all 3 of the core exams, but you get to pick one of the disciplines. So if you really like tax, go for tax. If you're really into information systems and IT, go into information systems and controls. So you need to choose one of the discipline. If you take BEC and pass BEC in 2023, which is what Becker recommends, which is what the AICPA recommends, and the AICPA, again, are the folks who write the test. If you can take and sit for this BEC before the change happens, then you don't have to take a discipline. We'll drill down into that a little bit more moving forward. But taking a look at the transition or what it's going to look like, audit, pretty much going to be audit. It's going to have a few new questions that were moved from BEC as it makes sense. So, but pretty much the same sort of exam content. The amount of content hasn't really changed. FAR is a little different. So what is happening to FAR is the content for the core FAR exam is being lessened. So they are taking those higher level critical thinking questions and funneling them into the bar discipline. So you will have those higher level questions within that discipline. So you're moving forward in 2024, well, how you had tested for FAR in 2023, your review time is going to be less in 2024 because there is less content. The same thing is going to happen with reg. So those higher level, more critical thinking questions are going to be moved to tax compliance and controls, with the meat of regs still being in that core exam. And then again, BEC is kind of being diverted where it makes sense, taking things out that don't make sense. They are removing the written communication portion of BEC. So there's no more written communication in 2024 and beyond. Any questions? Yes.
Is it recommended to take FAR after the change now? Lindsay asks.
Yeah, so the way that we recommend you all who are in that kind of interesting transition point, definitely take BEC first. The reason I say it and the reason Becker says it and the AICPA and the MICPA say it is because this exam is constantly scrutinized. They are running analytics behind it. They're looking at questions maybe more students miss than usual to find out if the wording is correct, if it makes sense, if the answers make sense, just constantly looking at this. In 2024, we're going to have 6 new exams. And yes, they've been looked at heavily, but they don't have that kind of refining that we have now. So moving forward, that's why they say take BEC first, get that out of the way in 2023. If you can, your next test that you would take this year would be audit. And then next in 2024, we know both FAR and reg are going to have less content, so less study time. Take that in 2024, both of those. So if you're in this in between, you kind of have a sweet spot to hit to make it, I hate saying easier because it's not easy, right? But there is going to be less content moving forward in FAR and audit. Does that make sense?
And Laura, does that answer your question, or did you want to follow up on that? Laura asked, what's the recommendation? Take the exam under the current structure or take it with the new structure?
Take BEC and audit current, and then FAR and reg in 2024. That would be the easiest on you. Anything else before I move on?
I don't see anything in the chat at the moment.
All right, I will move forward. Again, if you don't pass BEC in 2023, so I do want to, again, this is not to scare anybody, this is just to make you all aware of your timing. So we know that testing for all of the CPA exam in 2023 stops December 15th. If you study for BEC and do the review course and don't pass BEC in 2023, you then have to study a different review course for one of the disciplines and take those in 2024. There are no exceptions. So the earlier, the better. If you're able to work BEC in with you today or this year, go ahead and do it. Then that same token though, if you're a complete tax person and you love tax, you're great at it, go ahead, maybe take one of the disciplines. So there's really no one way to do it. And then if you want to talk through it more, we can go ahead and do that one-on-one. But just know this as well. So these are some transition dates. I do have this in a calendar that I will be sending out to you. So again, just dates for you to be aware of. So November 15th, NASBA will stop processing or BEC exam applications. Think of this as more of a November 1st, only because when it says November 15th, this means NASBA has all of your information, they've looked at it, they've gotten a chance to approve you. If they haven't gotten to that yet, there's already a cutoff and you won't be able to take it. So earlier, the better on this. November 22nd is when they will start processing applications for those new disciplines that we talked about. And again, December 15th is the last day of testing for all of them. And this is to allow them to revamp the software necessary to go in and make sure everything is working as it should, which is a really big deal for those that are going to resume testing in January. So again, same thing. Testing will start on January 10th. We have blackout dates again, y'all. You might have heard of these back in the day. There's blackout dates each quarter for the core exams, and then your discipline exams moving forward in 2024 are only available for a month of each calendar year. And there's also going to be limited score releases. So we'll take a look at those. As of now, you can probably bet on getting your score within 20 days plus or minus when you take the exam now. Moving forward, that's going to look a lot different, and I do have those dates for you. So if we take a look at this, this is the same calendar that we just looked at, but more of a visual. So January 10th is again when we can resume taking the CPA exam at the Prometric Testing Center. The lavender color is when the only dates that you can take the discipline. So make a note of those, and Prometric is open on Saturday, so that's why it bleeds into Saturday. And then the gray are the blackout dates for the core exam. So you're not able to take FAR audit or reg during those blackout dates. So again, not anything to scare you guys, just to have you be aware of when you can take it, which will tell you when to start studying. And then this is the revised 2024 test administration schedule release timeline. This is as of yesterday, you all. So I highly recommend, and I'll send you all a website with the most up-to-date and current information, just because sometimes these dates do change. As of now, we can see in 2024 quarter one, the core testing dates are January 10th through March 26th. You can expect your results of pass or your score on June 3rd. And you can kind of read through this as that the discipline test days, January 10th through February 6th, your score is going to be given to you on or around April 23rd. So it's a far longer period, unfortunately, for you to wait to see if you studied. And that is due to the fact that they are combing through all of these exams because the tests are so new. They want to make sure they are scoring you fairly. What they don't want to do, and when I say them, I mean the AI CPA, the folks that write and will score your test, they want to make sure they give as much credit as possible. They don't want to give someone a 74 if that person had a 75. So think about that when you're thinking about, gosh, this is taking so long, I wish I knew. That's why they're doing it. They're really in your corner to make sure that your work is counting for you. So what are they going to do about all of this time that you have to wait? Remember that 18-month window that we used to have? That's gone away. So what your transition is going to look like is any credit you have. So let's say you took and passed FAR January of this year. That credit is still good, January 1st of 2024. As of that day, with that credit that is still good, it will automatically be extended an additional 18 months till June 30th of 2025. So that is an awesome gift for you all. And we did just pass the extension that we are going from 18 months of having to take all 4 of the exams to 30 months. This makes it a little bit more easier and palatable, I believe, for folks to take and complete the CPA exam, they were finding that people might take 1 or 2 and not finish it due to that time constraints. So they did make that a lot longer, and you can see it is on a state-to-state basis. I pulled this as of 2 days ago, and you can see, you know, Michigan were approved. It looks like all of the states are going to do it, but it is on a state-to-state basis. So again, lots of moving pieces. Want to keep you with the most up-to-date information. Does that make sense, everybody?
Chantel, Christy
Yes.
asks if the passing score is going to change.
I've not
She
heard
read
that.
it may.
I've not heard that. It might be true, but I've not heard anything that had to do with that. Anything else?
Nothing in the chat.
All right. I will move forward. So I do want to talk about the partnership that Becker has with Walsh. So we have some discounted pricing for Walsh students specifically for both the CPA review and the CMA review. So we did take a look at the CPA review. You can read through all of the bells and whistles that are included in the premium package. It is unlimited. It is normally around $3,000. And for students, we're able to get that down to $2,350. That does go up yearly by about 4%, just so you guys know. And then same thing for CMA. So this is actually on special for the same amount of cost right now. So the $799, but this is locked in for you all. So those flash pricing sales that marketing runs without me knowing, those do change. So know that these prices are static for you all. So, and then if you want to add anything, you can do that. If you want additional resources, we can always work through that as well. But I did want to make you all aware of that, and the website you will go to is right here. I will also send this in the email follow-up for you all. So if you want to sign up and grab those discounted prices, you can sign up as early as you want. The reason I say as early as you want would pertain to CPA. So that's an unlimited license. So even let's say if you're thinking, gosh, I'm really not going to start studying and I can't even sit until next year. If you want to, you can still log in and go ahead and purchase it now, kind of see what it's about and start getting into it if you want, because it is unlimited. So it's not going to expire. So you'll have the full amount of time you'll need to go ahead and do that. And then this is my contact information, you all. I am really local. Your school is about 35 minutes away from me. So feel free to take my information, email, call or text me, whatever your preferred form of communication is. I'm happy to help, especially for you folks who maybe have questions regarding different states. If you have questions regarding licensure in different states or requirements in different states, or reciprocity, I can get you in touch with the account manager that's say from California or from Texas or from Florida, to give you the ins and outs of that state. Again, if you have any questions, you can always use me as a resource. If I don't know the answer, I can probably find someone who does. So with that, please take my information. That's what I have to share for you all today. Are there any other questions or things that maybe you're thinking of, things that are on your mind, stuff that you want to share?
And feel free to come off mute as well. You do not have to put that in the chat.
Hi, my name is Scott Wyckoff. I work here at Walsh College, and I wanted to ask a question about with NASBA and the requirements for education. Does it change at all with what they're requiring? Obviously, accounting credits are going to be top of mind, but how does that affect what they need, for example, for non-accounting credits? Does the business credit number change due to the changes that they made at all, or is it still roughly the same when you think particularly of Michigan?
Yeah, it's the same. That has not changed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? I will say when you are studying for the exam, it's pretty intense, right? there's a lot of time looking at your computer screen. So I would invite you all to offer yourself some grace when you are studying. For example, burnout's a real thing. So when we've all done it, if you're reading through something online or something in your book and you don't remember what you read, you're burned out. So take some time, go outside, call a friend, have a cup of coffee, do whatever it is that you do for a little bit of self-care. There's no sense in staring at a computer screen or working through these modules or listening to a lecture if you're just not hearing any of it. So I had a student who looked forward to taking his dog for a walk every day. Whatever that looks like for you, I highly encourage you to do that. And you kind of, students do take, days off or whatever that means to you. I will always offer that up. Anybody else with questions or anything they want to talk about regarding the CPA exam?
Chantel, go ahead.
Sorry, this is Mike Ebert. I just had a question really for Walsh to begin with is, since I'm an alumni, I went the finance route. Currently, I'm a faux troller, not quite a controller. So I have many years of experience, but I'm not sure if I have the right classes because I missed probably a tax class or something else. I've left a message. I was just wondering who the best person is to contact if they could help me determine if I have the correct credits to sit for I know I can sit for the CPA exam, but to make sure I have enough to finalize my CPA.
Mike, that would be somebody that you'd want to speak with admissions with. So you said that you sent us an email?
No, it was just a phone call the other day to
okay.
Career Services. So I wasn't sure if that's the correct place or if admissions is better.
It would absolutely be admissions, but if you want to send us if you want to send an email to us, then we're more than happy to get that to the correct department. So that way you can have those conversations and see kind of where you stand and how many more classes you're looking at.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do we have any other questions?
I have a quick question. This is Cheryl from Walsh and Career Services. Do you offer any online community support for people studying for the exam so they can cheer each other on or anything along that line through your website or anything like that?
Yeah, there's social media. So there's Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So you can find groups there to talk about exams, run through questions, commiserate if you want. There's online social platforms for support for CPA candidates. Yes. And some of our posts on LinkedIn are really funny. I get a laugh out of them. There's also, like, if you follow Becker on LinkedIn, there's also, in addition to those funny, lighthearted kind of memes, there are like practice questions where you can just read through it really quick. It's normally like a multiple choice question, just to practice, just to see where you are. Again, the more practice you have with those, the more time you're going to have for your task-based simulation. So that's kind of fun. Any other questions or concerns out there? If there's none right now, or if you're not comfortable sharing, again, take my contact information. I will be sending out a follow-up email with all of the websites that we had talked about today, resources, and also the link for the discounted CPA and CMA review. So you all have that as well. You'll also have my contact information on that email. It's a really handy guide. It'll help you keep everything in one spot, at least. But with that, if there's no other questions, I thank you so much for participating today, letting me chat about CPA and CPA evolution. Hopefully it kind of took away maybe some of the anxiety you had looking forward. The change is very much in your favor, so I think it'll smooth itself out a little bit more moving through it. But if there's no other questions or concerns, I will go ahead and conclude today's Lunch and Learn. And I thank you so much again for having me.